Ubers is an official tier in Smogon's tiering system, comprising of Pokemon deemed too powerful for OU, the standard tier for competitive singles. It is home to Pokemon that will otherwise ruthlessly dominate the OU metagame, such as traditionally powerful box legendaries like Groudon and Dialga, as well as Pokemon with absurd stats and abilities like Espatra, with its combination of speed boost and stored power, or Excalibur, with its colossal attack stat and signature move Glaive Rush. However, this video is centered around National Dex Ubers, a format similar to Ubers in terms of power level and Pokemon, but inclusive of Pokemon from previous generations that were unavailable in Scarlet and Violet, like Xerneas and Dracovish. Now that you know about the format, meet Zarude. Zarude is a mythical Pokemon introduced in Generation 8 of the main series games. It was introduced in mid-2020, following various event distributions from 2020 to 2024. It also got its own movie, which was pretty cool. Stats-wise, Zarude is pretty obviously designated to be a physical attacker, with an exceptional base 120 attack stat, a middling speed stat of 105, and pretty solid bulk everywhere else. Basically a watered down version of Ogerpon with stab on dark type moves. Zarude was ranked in the UU tier of both Generation 8 and Generation 9, with its most optimal set being a Swords Dance attacker set with knockoff, power whip, close combat or trailblaze. Alternatively, it could be used with a choice scarf to compensate for its mediocre speed, operating as a fast pivot with U-turn. In summary, Zarude was a pretty solid choice for a physical attacker in UU, albeit outclassed by more formidable grass and dark types like Ogerpon and Weavile. But why would Zarude even be worth using in a tier where the power level is so outrageously high? To understand this, we first need a basic understanding of the National Dex Ubers metagame. As of the most recent Viability rankings in June 2025, you can see that the top Pokemon are Primal Groudon and Zygarde, followed by Arceus Dark, Ho-Oh, Marshadow, Arceus Dark. When it comes to types, Fairy is unanimously considered to be the best both offensively and defensively, capable of hitting 3 common types super effectively and only having 2 weaknesses paired with many resistances. But National Dex Ubers happens to be a tier with a lot of Ghost and Psychic types. That includes, but is not limited to, Mega Mewtwo Y, Flutter Mane, Necrozma Ultra, Necrozma Dust Mane, Deoxys, and so on. Having the Dark type is very valuable defensively, since it allows you to switch in on the aforementioned types, as well as granting you a resistance to other Dark type attacks from Pokemon like Chi-Yu and Qianpao. Arceus Dark also gets access to a variety of utility moves like Taunt, Toxic, and even Foul Play to punish physical sweepers, helping it establish itself as the premier defensive wall in National Dex Ubers. Arceus Fairy, meanwhile, has to deal with Zacian's Behemoth Blade and the omnipresent Sunsteel strikes from both Necrozmas, resulting in a slightly lower placement on the Viability rankings. This is where Zarude comes in. Zarude has 2 key functions in National Dex Ubers. One, as a defensive check to one of Uber's most oppressive special attackers, Primal Kyogre. Zarude's grass typing gives it an inherent resistance to Kyogre's water type moves, as well as ground type moves from Groudon, Zygarde, and Arceus Ground. In contrast to the typical Choice Scarf or Swords Dance sets you see in UU, Zarude can actually be paired with the Assault Vest, multiplying its special defense by 1.5 times. A max HP and max special defense set with the Assault Vest is taking 40% from Primal Kyogre's Ice Beam at max, while also threatening a one-hit KO with Power Whip even without any attack investment, as well as decent chip on base Groudon before Primal Reversion. Now you might be wondering, why not just use Ogerpon Wellspring then? It's faster, isn't weak to Ice Beam, and is essentially immune to Origin Pulse thanks to Water Absorb. You could realistically do that, but this is where Zarude's second function comes into play, as a Stallbreaker and support Pokemon. Many people, including me, forgot that Zarude actually came with a signature move on its distribution, Jungle Healing. Jungle Healing restores the HP of all living team members by 25% and cures them of status conditions, like Heal Bell but on steroids. It's not typically seen on Zarude's offensive stats, since you'd much rather run coverage moves like Close Combat and Rock Slide on a physical attacker. And a healing move that doesn't even restore much of your health feels like a waste of a move slot. In National Dex Ubers, however, Zarude can afford to run the move thanks to its new role as a supportive Stallbreaker. Keeping your team healthy is a priority, especially on teams weak to entry hazards. Stall happens to be a very popular archetype in the format, which can be problematic for teams that have no real way of breaking through an overly defensive core. Zarude can use knockoff to get rid of opposing items, helping to enable a breakthrough from his teammates while offering consistent healing and status removal with Jungle Healing. Remember the defensive properties of dark types mentioned earlier in the video? Zarude is no exception. U-turn also happens to be slightly less common in Nat Dex Ubers, meaning Zarude doesn't have to stress over its 4 times weakness to bug as much. In addition to this, Taunt sets destroy casted Berry Shackle, and Rock Slide can hit opposing Yveltals trying to switch in with super effective damage. Zarude also offers nice utility with Encore to punish setup sweepers trying to take advantage of its passiveness. In summary, Zarude can thrive in the right environment with the right conditions, thanks to its solid defensive typing and the excellent utility it provides, establishing itself as an unexpectedly useful support Pokemon in a format dominated by Legendaries and Mythicals. What are your thoughts? Would you consider using Zarude in the format? Thanks for watching and consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed. Bye.